We'll get dog nose in the scene. We'll get dog snoots.
Dog snoots.
Hello everybody, Blue Dooley, and we're out in the garage working on the snowplow. We're actually going to make some adjustments to the plow itself, and then we might be able to go test it if the snow hasn't melted outside yet. So let me get you in a little closer and kind of show you what we're working on right now. So I got the blade off, and I just have a nickel metal pack hooked up to the truck right now because I'm not going to drive it. But these are the shocks I was talking about in the other video. I'm going to have to either scoot the servo over a little bit or maybe try to give the servo horn a little bit of a bend. But that'll lift the plow up substantially, a little higher than even the chains did. But it'll also, depending on where I mount this spring, because that'll actually be up here. And stick it a little closer. Because that where the plow height is, that end of the shock is actually below the A-frame for the plow. And that's what I want. I want some spring force pushing the blade down to the road so it doesn't chatter like it has been or kind of skipping over things. I actually got dug out two. So I'm going to put one on each side of the servo horn. And I know that's not scale. The servo hanging out here is not scale. But I'm kind of going more for function than 100% scale accuracy with the truck. I want it to be fun to use to like go out and plow the driveway or cruise down a sidewalk or a walking path and actually do some good with the blade. So I think these two springs, they're not super stiff, but they should give enough pressure on that plow to keep it from chattering. And then on the plow itself, as I mentioned, I need to get, I have to move you here. But as you look down that, you can actually see very little of the paint has been wore off in spots because it's kind of rounded over. So I'm going to throw it on the bench sander and give it a chisel angle. So this front side will be riding, and then most of this back area will be ground off. So it gives it a sharper edge to do the cutting. So if it hits ice and stuff, instead of bouncing over it, it'll just hopefully cut it off. That's the plan anyways. I actually been using a door hinge pin for the plow, and it fits in there, but it doesn't fit in there great, so it allows the plow to wiggle around a little bit. I'm hoping I got a bunch of screws, but I don't know if any of them are going to be long enough to go all the way through. Yeah, that just comes down to the bottom. So I need just a hair bit longer screw than this. So I'll have to figure something out. Might have to cut a piece of small rod. I just had a piece laying around here somewhere. Bolt's longer. I don't actually know what it's for. But I could actually maybe tap this top hole and then wallow that hole out a little bigger and then screw this in there. That would work really well. I don't know if I have it tapped this particular thread pitch, but that'd be cool. That would probably work really well. So the pin, as you can see, I started to drill it, but the drill bit broke. I actually broke 2 drill bits because I was trying to do it in the vise and not on the drill press. So this kind of stuff, having a drill press, really kind of a lifesaver because you can keep those really tiny bits straight and not angle them or get them bound up in the piece, snapping them. So I need to get these drilled, and then I'm just going to use a body clip for it. That'll be plenty big enough and easy to remove. The other little thing we need to do is I need to move this shock out a little bit to get more throw on the plow. And then, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there is a little bit of paint and wear mark right here. So I need to grind this out so the plow can angle, so the plow doesn't hit this when it's angled towards the curb side of the road. And just like the real thing, bolt it back on. My bolt holes are not straight at all. I'm not even going to apologize about it because I didn't think about it until after I'd already welded the back together. So some of the holes went where they went because the weld was in the way. This is just a very simple A-frame, but as you can see from the little bit of paint here, the plow is actually hitting the servo mount before it gets as far as I would like it to. The other way goes a lot further, of course. So I need to grind this off a little more so I can get this more of an angle, because it'll shove snow a little better the more this angles. Like I said, I'll drill this out and we'll use that random bolt I got laying around. That's quite a bit more angle than it had, and it'll still, it's not going to hit that servo, so that's a plus. I'll keep it up here. Kind of put it in place. Would like maybe a bit more, so I think I'll grind just a hair more off of that, and then that should be good to go. So the upside, which is bringing the angles of the plow towards the passenger side, I had to limit to 44%. The other way, I limited it to 88%. So that is touching the servo right here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the arm just touches the servo, and it still has a little bit more it could go. But bringing it back, it comes back, contacts that yeah, low voltage, because the this one's set up for LiPo, so this nickel metal is probably getting dead enough. I'm not going to be able to do much more testing with it. But that definitely gets me a lot more angle than I had before. So I'll have to redo this mount, but I am happy with the angle on it now. So now we can take it apart again and weld in the bracket for the lift servo. So we'll come back here in just a little bit. Well, now that I got the plow adjusted, the angle servo's got good throw, and these shocks still have a little bit of up travel. So if I hit a dip or something, there isn't enough though, so if I hit too sharp of an angle, if the plow goes up high enough, it'll just pick the whole front end of the truck up. That's where that's at right now. I got the hinge pin here drilled out for the body post clips, so that'll stay in place now. I actually have an odd Torx head bolt left over from the old steering wheel column that I took out of the other truck, and it actually threaded in there pretty nice. Find the right switch here. But that gets the plow fairly off the ground. Bump it forward so it's straight, and yeah, plenty of travel. Like I said, if I did the servos and stuff different, I could probably bring this plow a lot closer to the truck. And it still might get some tweaking a little later down the road. And according to my transmitter, this battery is full. This is not the battery that actually goes in the truck, but I think I might throw a heavier coat on and we might go take it for a quick spin. Filming with a stick radio is not exactly easy. Radio's throwing a fit. Like I said, trying to drive one-handed. Guess I should probably plow it away from them. Well, I'm going to get turned around and we'll head back. Yeah, it looks like the angle came off. Yep, it did. Alright, so we made the changes to the plow, and while the rod end came off, I'll work on that. As you can see in the test, having a little bit of down pressure, even from those weak springs, was just enough to keep that blade from chattering on the sidewalk, and actually, along with cutting that little bit of an angle on the cutting edge, really made it clear a lot better than it has been before. In fact, it actually works good enough that since the truck's not really super heavy, as you noticed, when the blade's angled, if it hits a good chunk of ice or something, it'll actually shove the whole truck sideways. And that's just because the truck just doesn't have enough weight in it. It had 10 pounds of weight over the rear tires for traction. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to add more weight to the front end without really squishing these foams a lot more than they already are. And it's just going to be the weight and how packed the snow is how well this is going to work. If the plow is straight, it might actually chip stuff out of the way, or it might just come to a dead stop. Not really sure. It's freezing right now, and that's going to do it for the testing of the blade. I'm going to take it inside, set it in the tub so it can drip dry, and then we'll actually get to detailing the interior in this video as well, and finally get the fuel tanks, the air tanks, the stacks mounted back on, and we'll show you how we're going to cover up the hole in the top of the cab. This is your first video on the snowplow. It's a flat rail chassis, just steel, completely welded up, and then Hercules Hobbies axles, 6-wheel drive with remote diff lock. This servo locks the diffs. I just have them all lock at the same time. There's an identical servo on the other side of the chassis for steering. And then an Accutronics linear servo for the dump bed. There's only one. And then the Hobbywing Fusion, an RC 4-wheel drive scale transmission. The only plastic driveline is this. It's two, I think just Traxxas units. The inner and the outer I've cut the U-joints off of and then drilled through and put the pins. That's the only plastic on the driveline. Then there's disruptor transfer case from RC 4-wheel drive. These are BFG crawlers for 1.7 wheels, RC 4-wheel drive. The truck cab and bed are Brooder. So if you go to the toy store, or I've seen them at farm and ranch stores, they have these. These are actually a 1/16 scale truck, but the 1/14 scale stuff actually bolts to them pretty well. The plow is a piece of 5-inch exhaust pipe. The cutting edge is the same kind of steel I used on the frame. The A-frame, all steel. A bunch of these Hexfly digital servos. 25 kg, they are waterproof and metal geared. I think they work fantastic. I actually use one as a steering servo on one of the crawlers, steering servo on the Grand, and then I just have a regular Futaba I have had forever for the transmission shift servo. So here is the bottom of the Brooder cab, and I'm pretty sure that control module I'm going to be able to tuck in right here, so it'll be underneath the cab floor, as I have all of this open space in here. We'll kind of set this in place for the moment. The cab actually snaps in, and my seat's drying. Up close you can see I got a little messy on the controls. I did give a little depth and some black to the pedals, the shifter, and then I'm not sure why this part of the red wouldn't fill in, but these are kind of for the blade controls in the dump box. I just wanted to give a little depth to the interior with some color. And the cab I'm going to get under the lights so you can see. Again, just gave it some detail. The gauges I blacked out. I got a yellow and a red for the air brake knobs. Then a couple silver knobs. The switches I blacked out. And then the steering wheel I put a little silver on. Again, just to give the cab a little bit more pop. Bring it a little more to life. So once you're looking through the cab with it on the truck, just gives it a little more, less toy look, a little more of a model look. For the cab roof, I have some styrene. I'm just going to cut out a little piece of styrene, paint it, and then I'll either glue it in place or maybe magnet in place since I want to put a light bar on here. Overall performance of the plow. It plows snow absolutely fantastic now. I'm not sure about real heavy wet snow, but a light fluffy snow works really great on. I do have a little tweaking left to do on the plow itself. I need to keep this arm attached. But its actual driving performance as a plow and a dump truck, I had this out at Dig Days. We used it as a pusher truck that unfortunately I didn't get any good shots from. Hauled a bunch of dirt with it. Works great as a dump truck. The Hercules Hobby axles I have no complaints on. The diff lock works really nice and smooth in them. And as it sits, it's a pretty unstoppable rig. It'll go a lot of places, fairly easy. I cannot say enough nice things about the Hobbywing Fusion. I have an 1800 kV and a crawler, but both of these trucks are 1200. Plenty of low end power for you pull or push whatever you want. The motors have never gotten warm. It's a great system. I think Hobbywing really killed it with that system. Plus, in a cab this small, or day cab if you were going to day cab the Grand Hauler or King Hauler cab, since it's 2-in-1, you don't have to try to hide the ESC anywhere. All you need to do is stuff the radio somewhere, and then you hide your servos, the motor and ESC. Nice combination, really smooth. I'm going to pop the cab back off here. I got the hood pulled out its way as best as I can. But I'm going to cut the zip tie for now. And the transmitter, or the receiver, I'm going to mount pretty much under the dash. I'm out of double stick tape, but I'll stick it under here. The cab will go down. That'll protect it from, it won't be waterproof if I submerge it, but that should be enough body between the front tires and this that any water kicked up driving around won't get to it. Same with having the light control box underneath the center of the cab. Plus, since it'll be upside down, any water that gets on it will just be able to drip right out. That's going to do it on this video of the snowplow. It's just kind of the details and the lights. I need to wait for LEDs to come in. I'm going to order some later today. But as you've seen in the test video, I apologize for not being able to film better than I did, as this runs off of a stick radio, 10-channel radio. So trying to drive and not mess with any of the other functions with my left hand and film with my right hand, I apologize for that in advance. The wife wasn't going to come out and help me film because it was snowy and cold. But overall, super happy with the way this truck is turning out and performs. So I will probably in the summer actually take the plow frame off, and I might do a little trail running with the dump truck just for fun. We might take it out to the rock down in Auger Falls, see how steep of an incline it'll climb up. RC four-wheel drive tires work pretty well around this type of rocks I got in my area. So that's going to do it for this video. Be sure to subscribe so you can see more of the plow, more of the grand hauler, more dually, more CXT. We'll get back to some crawlers as well. Click like so I know you enjoy the content, and we'll catch you in the next one.